guys, BehindTheMassPresents.com. We are here with Peter Wildoer, Darcane drummer and founder, and currently James Labrie's solo group, drummer as well. You got 2 new records out. Obviously, there's some similarities, but they're very different projects. I want to start with Darcane. That came out, I think, 4 weeks ago to the day or something like that, last month.
Yeah, it's July 2nd. It came out in the North America. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, gosh, you've played not just I didn't want to sell anything short. Not just Darcane and James Labrie, but you've played with Arch Enemy. You've played with Old Man's Child. You've been on a lot of records, man.
Yeah, I've done quite a few albums. Yeah, by now actually.
What the biggest thing here is the Sinister Supremacy. That's the new Darcane record. It's been a whopping 5 years since Demonic Art. Now, I think that's kind of normal in this day and age when it comes to sort of the elder statesmen of rock.
Yeah.
But with somebody as vital as you guys, why such the big gap?
I mean, actually, there like a few things happen. You know, it's family stuff that happened. You know, came in between. You know, with some of the guys in the band, and also we had a studio before, but that one got flooded like some years ago, and so we're searching for a new place to build a new studio, and when we found it, it took almost 2 years to finalize it. I mean, it was only like a room, 4 walls, a ceiling, and 1 electrical outlet. That was it, And so we actually started building it, and mostly Jürgen, the bass player, and me, we built it, So that took almost 2 years to finish off, the studio and the construction work for it. So that's mainly what happened. And during that time also, as I said, there were some stuff going on with with families and stuff. So yeah, it was just took some time. And finally, when we actually got started writing, it actually happened quite fast. And some of the songs on the album are really old, actually. But so anyways, now we have our own studio, and we're very happy with that. So
that's cool. Well, also, you guys had a singer situation. You guys brought back Lawrence McRory. Now, somewhere in between there, how did that come about? Who was the original?
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence sang on the first album, Rusted Angel. We recorded that one in '98 and released it in '99. So it's many years ago, and so I think it was in September 2011. We were supposed to go on a European tour, and our vocalist at that point, Jens Bruman, he didn't want to do the tour. He said, I'm not in for any touring at the moment. He didn't really have the energy to do it, and he wasn't that much into the band anymore, I guess. So he said, I don't want to do the tour. And we said, well, we want to do the tour, the rest of us. So we were actually checking up options, and we actually knew that Lawrence already when Andreas left the band in 2007 and Jens joined the band, already then we knew later on that Lawrence was already interested in getting back into the band. So it was kind of natural, we already had 3 different vocalists, so it didn't feel great, to put on a 4th vocalist. So we asked Lawrence if he wanted to do the tour, and he said, yeah, I want to do the tour, but I also want to be in the band, like a permanent member. And we said, let's do the tour and see what happens afterwards. And when we got back after the tour in Europe in 2011, then I think it was in October. So, Lawrence said, he really enjoyed it, and Jens didn't want to continue. So Lawrence was back in the band again, I guess.
Well, he fits like a glove on the new record. He sounds fantastic. And the record actually, I just think sonically sounds incredible.
Great, thanks.
It sounds incredible. Everything. I'm such an audio snob.
Yeah, okay.
And everybody cuts through fantastically. And just the way you guys are really good at track placement and the overall flow. I'm a huge fan of your classical element with your intro and segue tracks.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually. Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I would just say, like really, as you said, I think Lawrence, he really fits like a glove in the band. Really, 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 it's kind of back to the roots. I really love the 3 albums we did with Andreas, and also the Demonic Art album with Jens. I think those are really great albums too, and I really think all the albums of Darcane are kind of different. But to me, also, I really like what Lawrence did, and he contributed a lot to this album. Not only with the lyrics, he also wrote all the vocal parts, or the harmonies, everything, the melodies, and we never worked like that before, actually. It was always a collective thing when we were doing vocals. We always did it together. So I have to say that. And the production of the album, as you said, I think it's crystal clear. It's heavy, but as you said, everything cuts through. And that's thanks to Daniel Bergstrand. He produced like a lot of albums like Soilwork and Strapping Young Lad, Meshuggah. Yeah, he's worked with everybody, Behemoth. So... and we really wanted to work with him again because he did the first 3 albums with Darkane, Rusted Angel, Insanity, Expanding Senses. And we wanted to work with him again. And he really worked a lot. And actually, Lawrence was also in the studio because they live in the same town. So I'm really happy also with the production, as you said. It's really cool. Great that you like it. Thanks a lot.
I love it. And it's actually interesting you say that Lawrence, you say he wrote the vocal melodies, right?
Yep.
Man, I think even more so than the last record or two, I found myself singing along to the choruses, like in a catchy way. So they really pop. So that's really cool.
I think it's really great. Yeah. Thanks.
No, and gosh, what else? Okay, so do you have any I'm trying to tell my buddy here, River, about trying to get you into the classical element. I know he's all about that. I love it.
Yep.
And it really serves the greater whole. My favorite song on the record would be Collapse of Illusions.
Yeah.
And then you have Hate, Repentance, State before that, and you can't not listen to one and the other, in my opinion. But
no.
Well, I'm just saying. Well, it's one of those records where I can't skip tracks. I push play and I just enjoy the experience. It flows seamlessly.
I mean, that's really what we always done in the past too, and especially I think we succeeded with this one, as you said, with the classical intro kind of start on the album, and also, as you said, Hate, Repentance, State is also like pianos and violins and stuff. So, and I think I really have to say I agree with you on this album, because normally when you're done with an album, you kind of skip through the songs you like.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened when we were supposed to choose what songs we're going to rehearse now, for future touring plans and stuff. We had really a hard time to agree on what songs to play. And it's kind of funny that you say that Collapse of Illusions is like a favorite track, because that one, we actually had 4 tracks that we didn't really know which tracks were supposed to be the bonus tracks. And Collapse of Illusion was actually a track that we were maybe considering having as a bonus track instead. And a lot of people that heard the bonus tracks, I Author of Despair and Malicious Strain, many of those people say, well, these aren't like leftover tracks. These are actually great songs and that could fit on the album. So for the first time in I would say probably since our debut album Rusted Angel, we all felt like, well, we actually succeeded in writing quite a bunch of great songs this time. So, and that's a bit different from the previous albums, where you kind of felt like, well, those 3 songs are great and the rest are not. That's normally what happens. But this time around, I have to say that we actually, right now, are rehearsing the songs, and we're actually rehearsing all of them, because we want to feel what it feels like to play the songs, and maybe change songs overnight when on tour and stuff to see what songs fits the live stage.
It's funny, usually I think a lot of the crowd might think it's a drag when you have that band that's going to play we're just going to play the entire new album. Oh, yeah. I would be totally happy if you guys played the entire Sinister Supremacy. And honestly, I was going to say that I really hope that Collapse of Illusion is in the set list, just because that thing's got legs. And it's towards the middle, later middle album. Yep. And to me, it's just like that peak moment. It's perfect where it is. And I don't know, this isn't really a word, but it's the most head-banging moment of the
wow, you're cool, man.
No, you know what I'm saying? When it builds up and it builds up, and after Hate State, you just want to rock back and forth in your car or wherever you're listening to. I do.
Yeah. No, that's really great to hear. We actually consider, I just said, right now we're actually trying to rehearse all the songs, to play them, just to, rehearse them and feel, what it feels like to play them and stuff. And and I think we actually asked on our Facebook page, we asked, the people there, so what is your favorite track of the new album? And normally you get like 2 or 3 tracks that everybody enjoys. But on this album, it's widely spread. Some of the songs, like, for example, Insurrection.
Insurrection is Eminent, my close second favorite. Yeah,
that one was actually a song that we were really eager to record, and we loved it when we recorded it. But when the album was done, the guys in the band, we kind of felt like, it didn't really came out as we were hoping for. And then we see the reactions, that on reviews and stuff like that. A lot of people likes that song too. So it's just it's a kind of upside down situation for us this time around. And it's just great that people like different songs. And a lot of people said, I don't have a favorite song. I like the whole album. And as you said, like when you play from beginning to end, it kind of fits well together. And also those small instrumental parts in between and stuff. So it's just great that you like it, man.
Insurrection is Eminent, which that's a tongue twister. It's really hard to say that real fast. You kind of have to stop for a second, make sure you don't get that.
No, it's weird. It's Lauren's track, so
yeah. No, it's cool, man. And but that one, I love that track because it's old school thrash riff.
Yeah,
old school thrash riff. And actually, I hear that riff and I think, wow, this is what Testament needs to sound like right now, or Exodus. I mean, it's a killer riff. And
as you said, I think that's kind of what we actually started. That's the roots of Darcane right there. It's where we comes from. The more old school kind of thrash stuff, and it's more what you can hear on the early Darcane albums too. And I think it's also a really cool track. It's kind of way more thrashy than we used to be, like on the previous 2 albums, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And the beauty in Collapse of Illusions is the simplicity, at least in the beginning. I mean, it slows things down, and there's nothing wrong with being simple, man. I mean, even amazing players like Dimebag Darrell back in the day, they weren't afraid to be simple as long as they were aggressive and badass with it.
Exactly. I mean, it's a good riff and a good song. It doesn't have to with complexity or technicality.
No way, man. You got those 2 notes drone in the background. You just come in with that chug. It's like that's all you need, man, to set it up, and it just
it kind of feels like sometimes when you write songs, you kind of think like, well, this is going to be like a cool part to play live, and that song is actually, it feels like this is going to be really heavy when you play it live. So
and that's why you should play it live.
Yeah, we have to do that then anyways.
Absolutely. So gosh, I don't know, you kind of maybe answered the question of your favorite off the record. It's kind of the whole thing. You can't pick a favorite child.
Kind of hard, yeah, it is.
Speaking of the live situations, what are your guys' touring plans on the card right now? Because I don't think you guys have any dates out there right now.
No,
and
there are some tours where we're actually discussing quite a few different options at the moment, but nothing is confirmed. And right now, everything is depending on what's going to happen after the summer during the fall. And we haven't confirmed that. So as soon as that is confirmed, we know what else, all the other tours will fit in after that tour. And if that tour is not going to happen, we have to rethink a lot, and get, because that's like a longer tour for the fall. But anyways, there will for sure be tours both happening in Europe and in North America. That's for sure, though. But I really can't say much more than that at the moment.
Oh, I got you. The last time, now correct me if I'm wrong, the last time I think you guys were in North America, you guys were supporting Soilwork.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think if you do come back to America, when you do, will it be a headline run, or are you guys going to try and get on a package?
I think we should try to get on a package because I don't know, the draw that we will do ourselves. And at the moment, I kind of feel like we should tour it like someone that is bigger than Darcane, and to be able to appeal to those. Oh, yeah, that would be great. That would be really cool. You have some dreams, like whatever, like, Lamb of God or something,
Oh, absolutely.
You always have, your dreams and stuff. But definitely to open up for a bigger act, to appeal to those, that band's audience and stuff. So try to get new fans, and as you said, it's been a while. It's been almost 5 years since we recorded the previous album, Demonic Art. So we kind of wouldn't say we're starting all over again, but it's
you got to reestablish the audience.
Reestablish. That's for sure. That's for sure.
And that's understandable. And I understand that it's got to be pretty consuming financially and time-wise to try and tour North America. So getting on a package tour would seem ideal. It's funny you mentioned someone like Lamb of God or whatever, but do you have, not necessarily exposure, for exposure reasons, do you have a dream tour that you would say absolutely, you couldn't say no, absolutely, drop in a hat? It doesn't have to be somebody, okay, obviously every metal band wants to tour with Metallica, or something like that. But, like, what about just as a fanboy? Like, oh, yeah, I would just...
Dude, to be honest, I kind of already tour with a lot of great bands, you know, and I have I've had the opportunity to, because I was reading an interview yesterday with Gene Hoglan, and I posted it. I posted it on the internet and said, you know, you guys got to see this interview. Read it. It's, you know, it's a lot of, he discusses his whole history and stuff. So, and you know, we with Darcane, we shared bus with Strapping Young Lad for 2 weeks, so we hang out with those guys, you know, every week, every day, you know, and so musically, I would say, you know, like, to me, if it doesn't matter, you know, if the band, you know, have a big draw or like really famous or anything, but to me, I mean, I'm like I'm really a fanboy of Sean Rayner, who played on the Human album.
Oh, yeah.
And I love Cynic. So I don't think it's like a great fit for the band musically, but I would love to tour with Cynic, because then I could see that band every day on stage. That would be like killer to me. But honestly, I think today, like I said, a dream tour to me would actually be like Lamb of God, Gojira, and Darkane. I think that would be like a really stellar tour to you know, a great package.
That'd be great.
So that would be great. Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah, Cynic. I wasn't expecting that answer, man. That's a really good shout out.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite bands. You know, they're the first album they did, Focus. I mean, from '94. It's still on constant rotation. I mean, it's almost 20 years next year, and you know, it's so. And I pick that album up all the time, and I always hear new stuff, and also, of course, you know, you were younger, and you kind of you remember
nostalgic quality.
Yeah, it's some nostalgia too, but that album still is one of my absolute favorite albums of all time.
Nostalgic reasons. That's why I listen to Bobby Brown and Prince. I mean, it's not what I
and that kind of goes into my next question: is what is your guilty pleasure album? Because mine is Wilson Phillips. I come home, sit in my recliner, drink a beer, and I sing Wilson Phillips.
Yeah, I mean. That's a great choice, though.
So you're coming out of the closet on the show?
Oh, I came out a long time ago.
No, but I think, you know, I'm nostalgic in a way, but I also like listening to new stuff. But if I were only to bring one track with me on a desert island or something somewhere, you know, that would be Uninvited with Alanis Morissette. That's my favorite track. That's, you know, I don't know. It's just something with that song.
I'm a big Alanis fan myself too. I talk about her quite a bit on the show.
Wow, yeah.
She's a sexy Canadian. I like her.
She's a sexy Canadian, and we actually saw her when we were on tour in the U.S. We went to the Jay Leno show because a friend of mine, they knew someone there, so they got us in, and she was the guest, and we were like in the front row, and I was like, I don't know, like I could almost touch her, you know, like if I lean forward, and I didn't know if I was going to run for her or not, you know, but I didn't. But anyway, I just felt like she's like so close, you know, I could just yell to her, you know, like I love you or whatever, you know.
You don't want a piece of that, man. She's been with Dave Coulier. You guys don't have Full House in Sweden, do you?
Yeah, I wouldn't go there, no.
Cut it out. But I gotta say, I love your tour lineup there. I would be first in line to buy a ticket, but it needs more Meshuggah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I forgot that. Okay, I agree with you.
And then you would just have complete mayhem. I think you guys would round out the melody in that tour.
Yeah.
You know, and then, I don't know, man. I think Lamb of God would serve as a bridge, and then you get to Meshuggah where it's just, you know, I don't know. Total.
I mean, I saw Meshuggah first time in '95, here in Sweden, and I instantly became a huge fan. And I actually been listening to them since Contradictions Collapse album.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and I know that, you know, I don't know what magazine, if Rolling Stone magazine or something, but they kind of, you know, voted them as one of the most important metal bands of all time, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, all the gent scene wouldn't happen. A lot of the core bands and stuff wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for Meshuggah. I mean, Meshuggah kind of, they took that Pantera thing and just twisted it, you know, big time, and yeah,
it's funny. It's funny. One of the most important bands of all time. It's funny how it seems like in the last couple of years that's when people are realizing it.
Yeah, and I know they've been struggling for many years to get that recognition that they really deserve.
Was it 1991 when they first came out? Something like that. First record, I think.
Yeah.
I know 95
was in 91. Yeah.
Yeah, 95 was Destroy, Erase, Improve. Good time to jump on.
Yeah, and also previous to that, that was the EP. None was like right before there. So
they always stood out. And I'm not trying to talk about other bands when I got you on here.
But they're such an important band.
Well, they're in your area, man, and it's cool because I remember in the 90s. Meshuggah was like kind of like Pantera, where they were a sore thumb with what was going on, especially in the States. You had Pantera that was kind of waving the flag, but you had Meshuggah out of nowhere. They were coming out with records like Chaos Fear or whatever at the time, and they were on these Ozfest tours with Deftones and Linkin Park. Like they were just like what they were a little bit ahead of what was coming.
They were definitely ahead, and so many bands they're like. I wouldn't say, I'm not telling anything here that Darcane is like, whatever, like, setting boundaries. But in a way, I kind of felt like Meshuggah, they had also that thing, going on that a lot of different bands knew about them and liked the band, but they didn't have any record sales and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I kind of know what that is. We kind of had that in the past with Darcane, like a lot of musicians and bands that play themselves, they always say, well, I really into Darcane and stuff, and but then the sales really doesn't you know what I'm saying. It's like the bands like it, other musicians like it, but the crowd really don't know about the band. So, and that was really what was going on with Meshuggah. I mean, everybody that played music knew how important it was and everything, but they didn't get the recognition that they deserved until now. I think they're still getting bigger and stuff, but they really need, all the recognition they can have.
Well, the comparison I can make between a band like yours and a band like theirs is, I do think Sinister Supremacy could be your best record.
Yeah, thanks.
If anything, well, I mean, I think you guys are progressing. And you guys, I'm not trying to, you guys have been around a while. 1998 is a long time.
Yeah.
And Meshuggah's the same way, man. I mean, they had Obscene and then Coloss. It's just like they keep just wham, bam, bam, bam. They're only getting better. They're growing incrementally.
Exactly. And they're finding their way. They're finding their sound and redefining their sound on each album, and just getting closer to that core sound of what Meshuggah is all about, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, I just love talking about music. And dude, Meshuggah is so awesome just because Jens Kidman makes the funniest faces. I love his pictures, man, on stage. He's always making that face, that like O face. I love it.
I know. It's I actually saw Christopher, the guitar player of Darcane. He's right now, putting stuff from old VHS cassettes into his computer to digitalize it. And he just showed me a clip that he actually had a clip with Meshuggah that he filmed. He asked him if he was allowed to film their show when we were watching it, and that was in '96, I think. And actually, Jens is already back then doing all these weird. He looks like the ants, the trees in the Lord of the Rings movies, those big ass trees. That's what Jens looks like, He already started that kind of weird looking stuff already back then, but now he's he's just a killer guy live. Really, really cool. A killer band, all of them, of course.
And somehow his voice isn't blown out from just screaming at the top of his lungs.
No, and he never really. I know that some people, when they get sore throats and they're getting problems, they kind of start learning stuff. But he just yells, from the top of his lungs.
And he's not. It's not like, these days they have people that can teach you metal technique.
Exactly.
The screaming and it's not like. If you're in a domestic dispute or you're getting angry with somebody, you don't scream like Phil Anselmo at him. That makes no sense. But scream like Jens does. He is just screaming like he's going to take the belt off and start beating you with it.
Yeah. But that's like Jens is. He's a natural, I would say. So he's a short. All the guys are really funny. They're like really fun guys, actually.
So, we'll get that on board and we'll get that tour set up for you. And I'll mess.
Yeah, that sounds great. Looking forward to it, man.
All right. So we'll get into the next round. So, Impermanent Resonance, the new James Labrie record. Just a general question here: how exactly did you get hooked up with James Labrie with Static Impulse? Because I knew with his music, I'm a big fan of his and his solo stuff, and the style shifted with Static Impulse. Obviously, bringing a little bit of that European vibe into it, but. Was getting you on board a matter of, hey, we want to go for the style, let's get this guy, or how did that happen?
Actually, Matt is writing the bigger part of the music. Matt Guillory, the keyboard player, and he's been writing with James since his first album, the Mulmusler, or whatever they're called.
Mulmusler, yeah.
Yeah, Mulmusler, yeah. And back then they started writing together, and I know. Matt, he's a huge fan, I guess you can hear it, of Soilwork and stuff like that, In Flames and Swedish bands. And he actually, for Static Impulse, I came kind of late into the band at that point because Mike Mangini, who is playing drums now with Dream Theater, he was playing with James on the Mulmusler albums and stuff. So, and he couldn't do the Static Impulse. And he already actually tracked drums, like demo tracking for 3 or 4 songs. So I came in kind of late, and the reason they asked me was that they wanted to have Jens Bogren, who mixed Opeth, and all these bands, Soilwork and stuff, and they want to have him to mix the album, and so they called him and said, so what about the recording? And he said, you guys got to fly over to Sweden to record here in my studio because it's the best studio around. And so they were thinking, well, why not pick a Swedish drummer, because we're going to record in Sweden anyway. So Matt called a mutual friend of ours, Teddy, who's playing with Freddy Krueger's Underwear, Lauren's other band.
Okay.
FKU, and he in Lock Vostok and some other bands he's playing with. And so Matt asked him, do you know someone, a drummer somewhere, and he said, yeah, you should check with Peter. He's got all that, he's got both elements, kind of the more heavy metal, hard rock kind of, groove, yet with the the Furiosity, more of thrash and death metal style. So it's thanks to him. It's thanks to Teddy. Thank you, Teddy, for getting me in contact. And also because of that, that's the reason why I later on could do the audition for Dream Theater. And so I mean, it's all because of those guys knowing each other. And Matt asked him if there was someone, and I was around. So. Yeah, it's coincidence. That's what it is.
I gotta stop for a second, man, because I'm a little. My heart is hurting that there's actually, what are the odds, another band called Freddy Krueger's Underwear. So I have to change my band's name.
Is it?
I'm joking. No, absolutely not. I'm still stuck on it, man. That's freaking awesome. No,
dude, that name, Krueger's Underwear. It's Lauren's other band, and it's such a killer band. They're totally retro thrash. Really, like early Exodus and stuff like that. And Lawrence vocals is way different in that band compared to Darcane, because Lawrence has got such a big variety in his vocal style, and it's you probably can tell that it's the same guy, but it's way different. It's you got to check that out. It's a cool band, really.
I definitely won't forget the name.
So no, you won't.
It stained your mind. What was that band again? Oh yeah, Freddy Krueger's Underwear. It's awesome, man. It's right up our alley.
Awesome. It's awesome.
Now, you kind of made that clear, I guess. I was going to inquire about even though it's kind of obvious, your roles in something like working for James Labrie and your band Darcane, obviously you're going to wear different hats. How does it feel to sort of lay back and be the drummer? It's got to be a relief. It's got to be kind of fun, right?
Oh, dude, it's such a relief. I mean, in Darcane, it's kind of, it's a collective thing, of course, Darcane, but at the moment, for example, it's Lawrence and me taking care of, I would say, like probably 90% of all the contact with labels, managements, booking agencies, and it's a constant emailing and contact every day. It takes, sometimes I just figure, like I'm spending more time with my computer writing about Darcane than actually practicing the drums. So and to be with James Labrie and his band, I'm just the drummer. They call me, and ask me if I can play the songs and stuff, and they send me some demos, and I track the tracks, and that's it. I don't do any interviews actually only because of James Labrie album. Right now I'm doing for mostly promotion for Darcane. So, but it's a relief, and it's a great thing, and for me, it's a great opportunity, of course, to play with James and. I get people listening to Darcane and getting people into Darcane that, and vice versa, of course. So it's just great. I wouldn't have been able to, being kind of the captain of a ship too, like with James Labrie. We're sticking with Darcane, and it's plenty enough to do with that band, actually.
And I was going to actually ask about that too, like, because I am the same way. I have been a big fan of James Labrie's and Dream Theaters and everything since I was a little kid. So I was introduced to you guys through the Static Impulse sessions and being dropped, and I'm like, okay, well now I got to check out Darcane, and even more so with the highly publicized Dream Theater audition. So from working with him and especially that audition, how many fans are you seeing coming out of the woodwork that are finding you through that channel?
Oh, dude, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people, and you kind of feel, Dream Theater. They're huge. I mean, I sometimes go to Facebook and see how many people like different bands, and then you can tell, well, okay. And then you suddenly see like Dream Theater, they like pass 2.5 or 3 million people liking them on Facebook or whatever, and so you kind of know that it's huge. And then you got the James Labrie set, they're I don't know, 50, 60,000 maybe or something. And then with Darcane it's maybe 20. So, but I would say, after that, because sometimes when you post stuff online, for example, when I posted like a studio report that I did with the James Labrie album now recently, it just bam, and suddenly it's like 25,000 views in a couple of days, and that doesn't happen, to Darcane, of course, but it's getting there. It's getting, we get a lot of positive reactions from people listening to James Labrie album for Static Impulse and now Impermanent Resonance. So it's great, it's just great. And people, I wouldn't say that people, there are so many bands around today, so it's impossible to keep track of everything. I mean, so it's just a great thing to be able to go through another band and then people discover Darcane, of course.
But the endorsement actually has to mean a lot, because I think it's funny because, okay, you got this audition for Dream Theater, which I want to chat about a little bit, and they dubbed you guys, okay, these are the 5 or whatever best drummers in the world, and I think you were top 3 actually. So it's almost like just great promotion in itself. You got these elder statesmen of prog rock saying you are one of the best in the world. So all right, you must be one of the best in the world. I got to check it out. So it's like overnight, maybe you were always one of the best in the world, but nobody knew it.
No, exactly, and I mean, all of those guys that audition and a bunch of other guys, of course, like a couple of hundred other guys would, of course, they would probably pull off the gig and play the songs, but they're not looking only for a great drummer. They were looking for like a friend and a guy to bring on tour with the same background and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of those other guys that audition, and especially Virgil Donati is one of my. He's one of my main influences. Maybe you can't hear it in my playing because I'm not able to play what he's doing, but he's like a huge influence for me. And during the audition, I actually emailed all of the guys just saying like, guys, I wouldn't say that they didn't care who would get the the drum position in Dream Theater, but I just said, I feel like a winner, and I'm already happy just having you guys' email address. That's fine with me. So, and we stayed in contact with all of them, and there's the cool guys, sweethearts, and one of the reasons, one of the big things during the auditions was that I actually contacted Virgil and said, I would like to meet him at the hotel, when we're doing the audition week. And so he just called me in my room, hey, it's Virgil, and then you want to come to my room. And I could hardly walk there because my knees were like, like so soft. So to me, that was like such a big trip, not only doing the actual audition and meeting the guys in Dream Theater, but also, getting contact with the whole management of Dream Theater, see how such a big band works, and then also to get in contact with the other drummers. That, to me, it was amazing, of course.
I obviously know the perks that would have come with getting the gig, but I also have to imagine that no matter how it turned out, even if at the end of the day, you're still focusing on Darcane, it was probably a relief just to go through the process and, like you said, rewarding. But you were probably like, "Oh man, I'm glad it's done."
Dude, it's there was so much stuff going on in my head during that time, like with Darcane, my normal work, of course, and I remember actually asking my wife also, or not asking, but we were talking about it. I was like, I wonder if the guys in Dream Theater, if they can live out of their band solely, or if they have like normal day jobs. And I kind of figured later on that they probably don't have any day jobs for many years.
No, man. They got enough endorsements and
they got all that shit,
all that stuff.
So in a good way, I think that I really didn't know how big it was when I was doing the audition, because I was nervous enough. So if I would have known more details about it, I would probably been even more nervous and stuff. But of course I knew they were big. I mean, and Mike Portnoy, I mean, his legacy is like huge. He's influenced so many young drummers, and I mean, he's like a whole business himself. Like Mike Portnoy. So, having to fill those shoes, big shoes to fill, man. So,
as a drummer, were you a fan of Dream Theater back in the day, or James's and stuff before getting involved with him, or was that your scene?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I wouldn't say that I've been following them for the later part of their career, maybe, but I mean, I saw the first European tour with Dream Theater. I think that was in '93. I think an Images and Words tour. Mm-hmm. We saw them like in a little place. Maybe there were like 400 people there. So, and I've been a huge fan, especially Images and Words and Awake. And then I kind of lost track, But it's every now and then, when they release an album, you kind of look into it, of course. But it's a killer band, and the guys are like so great musicians. First off, and super cool guys, really down to earth, cool guys. I mean, I have nothing but great things to say about them.
Well, that's cool. Getting back into the James Labrie record, In Permanent Resonance, I finally got to listen to it yesterday. Got it in. I think when does it come out officially? Tomorrow or Tuesday?
I think it's tomorrow.
Tuesday here.
It's 6th, August the 6th. Yeah.
Okay. So I got mine in the mail finally yesterday, and I had time to listen to it twice all the way through for this. And so what I say here is going to be based on initial listens. Obviously, I have to grow with records. But my impression now, it definitely sounds like the sister companion record to Static Impulse, maybe a more refined version.
Yeah.
But would I be correct if I said this one was a little more melodic? It seems like this one's more melodic in the vocals, a little bit more hooky. Let's see, you've got songs like, gosh, it's the new one that was just released, Back on the Ground.
Back on the Ground, yeah, of course, yeah.
I mean, you got songs like Lost in the Fire, Back on the Ground, Say You're Still Mine. They're very crossover appeal-ish.
Definitely. I mean, that melody, the piano melody and stuff in Lost in the Fire, I mean, just gets stuck to your head. And definitely I agree with you. This one is way more. It's not way more, but it's more focused on the songwriting and the actual songs. And I know Matt and James and Peter Witchers who used to play with Soilwork. He's also been contributing with music to this album. So he's been co-writing a lot of stuff with Matt. So, and the thing is that they really concentrated a lot on the melodies, on the vocal lines this time around. And I think, to me, I mean, it's just personally for me, but I think this is the best effort that James, vocal-wise, ever done. I think his vocals are amazing on this album, and also as you said, the melodies are great, and definitely the focus this time around was way more on the actual songs than maybe anything else. So you're totally right about that.
I think James Labrie is always getting better vocally. I mean, this is just kind of outside the realm here, but I think he's I think he's an underappreciated strong card in Dream Theater.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I always look forward to his vocal hooks and just the way his phrasings are, and there's always those shining moments. It's just like, it seems like in all their songs, there's that one moment I can't wait for, that one note I want him to hit, and it just hooks you in. Even if it just lasts a second, it's crazy.
Dude, such hooks, they're like so important. That's in some parts. That's what I've noticed with the Darcane album too. In a way, like I know we have some tracks that you kind of feel like, oh yeah, the song is not too cool, but then the chorus kicks in and you go like, wow, this is a really badass chorus, and that kind of takes away the other parts and just makes the song a cool song.
It makes it whole. But there's
makes it whole, yeah.
Sometimes there's like literally one note. It's all it takes sometimes. Yeah. And I know if you're into something and you're into a band, you want to get a friend into it. You know how that is. Yeah. You'll be in the car with them. You'll be hitting them in the shoulder like, here it comes, man.
Yeah.
And they might not get it. Like, was that it? Like, man.
That's what I hate. I hate about that stuff. As you said, be like, listen to this, and no, and then the people go like, yeah, what's about that?
Yeah. It's like, you didn't hear that one note? It was magic. Like, it was like, okay. I mean, that's how you separate
that's what I have a lot with the Cynic album, as I said, Focus earlier on. There are some drum fills, and stuff that I start laughing when I hear it because it's so good, Mm-hmm. And as you said, it lasts for, a fragment of a second. It's like maybe a hi-hat opening, but it's just the position of it is like so good. So you just, you just have to love it. So,
I don't know. I think that there's some people that just hear music differently, that really listen to music. And then there's your casual people. I remember speaking of, like, I'm a huge guy, and that's why I like Darcane a lot, because you guys have that progressive metal element. But I love progressive rock. I love the old stuff. I love King Crimson. I love Camel. Yeah. And then I love the metal stuff. And then I remember when Dream Theater came along, I picked the wrong album to get into them, because their least accessible album, in my opinion, is Awake, because it's just so obscure. But now it's like maybe my favorite.
Yeah, but it's a grower.
Once it grows, it's not the record you want to give to a friend to get in Dream Theater, because they won't get past 6 o'clock. They won't get the crazy intro there. But
that's what. Go on.
Oh, I was just saying, I remember getting people into records like that and just it going over their head and be like, are you on crack? Like, what? It's awesome. And
I think that's, we call it, we call it in Darcane, I think, and we're not like super progressive or anything, but there are progressive elements and stuff that people need their time to get into it. And we normally say that, it's like with milk, it's the dates, is, what do you call it? The day before it gets, bad, or what do you call it? Yeah.
It's sweetest. It's kind of.
Yeah. So it's some stuff, you buy grocery stores, they last maybe for 2 days and then they're bad, and some stuff you can keep on the shelf, and they'll be good for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think in a way that's what we're kind of trying to do also with Darcane, is that, maybe you don't get hooked on the first or second time you listen to the album, but the more you listen to it, the more things you also discover. And at some points, that's when music is, too basic or whatever, you kind of listen to an album maybe 5 times and then you're fed up with it. But I think that's one of the things that you said with progressive parts and stuff. Like, you can listen to it all over again and over and over again, and you always discover new things, like Cynic, of course, like Focus and stuff. So I think it's really cool with some progressive parts when you don't overdo it, because that really keeps you interested and you can listen to it more, many, many times before you get bored of it.
What an awesome metaphor. Mind I use that? Can I use that as the headline for this interview? Darcane, the Twinkies of metal.
Yeah, dude.
Like, you never go bad. You never go out of date.
That would be fine.
But it's exactly the way. I can name a million records that came out, and they're so simple and catchy, and that's cool. But man, that died out after the first week. Like, man, and I've not listened to them. And some of my favorite bands I've been guilty of coming out with records like that. And
yeah, I know.
But then you have those ones that are growers, and you listen to them, and you don't quite get it, maybe, but you're intrigued to come back for more. Like, I want to get this, and it just grows on you. And you're right;
Definitely.
It's balancing the complexity with the simple stuff, like the heavy riffs on the new record, Darkane record, it's things like that.
Yeah, exactly. But you got to have that balance, and when that balance is right, you really, really, get into an album if the balance is right.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll last forever. You can listen to it all over, over and over and over again. So, cool.
I couldn't believe. I agree with everything you're saying, man. I don't know. Maybe people like Dream Theater. Maybe people like some people like Darkane. There's bands that are not for casual music listeners.
Of course,
I guess.
Yeah.
But it seems like the people that aren't casual music listeners are the people that are going to stay.
Yeah, probably.
The casual music listeners, they're going to go through their flavors of the week, So you guys are going to
change what they're listening to and what they like and what they don't. So it's, as you said, it's the guys or the people that really, enjoys what they're listening to, and they're kind of getting into details. Of course, when you hear an album for the first times, you just hear the big picture of it. But then you start getting into those notes, as you said, like this note, and it just makes the whole song. It's one single note, but it makes me, feel great. And that's what you discover when you listen to it more and more, of course.
And if I was in your position, I mean, this is just me personally, and I understand that if you're in the situation, maybe someone's mind might be changed if you're waving money in their face. But I really would like to think that I would rather have 100 hardcore people that are just fangasming all over the album I put out and picking it apart and learning how to play guitar, and they want to learn that lick or than 3 million people across the country just singing my stupid chorus like Call Me Maybe or one of those songs. I would take the first one.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I like, because quite often when we go on tour with Darkane, for example, I have there is always one or a few guys, or maybe five guys coming up to you afterwards, and drummers, and they have like the albums they want to have you, they got a lot of, maybe they have all the albums you mentioned like really early on, like the Arch Enemy stuff and the Old Man's Child, Pestilence, and Darkane stuff, that they want to sign. They want to get signed, and to me, that means the world to me. I mean, if I can even inspire like 2 kids, I mean, isn't that awesome that you actually made something that people they start playing their instrument maybe, or it'll keep them practicing, or it'll keep them feeling good, or whatever. It's just an awesome thing that having some, we call them the nerds, and I'm a total nerd myself.
I can tell from the Batman avatar. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like a drum nerd, so I like discussing, what kind of woods do you have? Wood do you have? Do you have birch or maple? Is it mahogany? One layer of, And I'm a nerd, and to me, to get to meet these people, and they tell me that, wow, you inspired me so much, and I bought this cymbal because you have that cymbal and stuff. I mean, just makes my day.
And
I love it.
And that's the reward in it, man. I think that's incredible. So
it is.
It's the reward for integrity, man, and you guys got it, and hopefully you'll keep it, man.
Yeah.
The other thing about James Labrie, I want to wrap up this, is touring wise. If I remember correctly, when Static Impulse came out, I think there was plans to do a short run, at least. And I remember I was going to go see a Chicago gig at Reggie's Rock Club.
Yep.
And fantastic venue, by the way, if you've ever played there.
No.
And it got canceled. And I think it might have been due with visa disputes. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
What
was
happened?
me and Marco. Yeah. No, that was some visa dispute, and it was a lot of stuff happening at that moment, actually, and kind of, we were kind of pushing, we were kind of, closing in on the dates when the tour was supposed to happen, and some stuff wasn't really 100% confirmed and stuff, and at that point it got kind of late for the visas and stuff, so it was just, it was a mess, actually. So and there's no one to blame, but probably just that I can't remember. I wasn't, as I said, I'm the sideman of James Labrie. I get a call, play this and play that, and I do that. So, and so I really don't know all of the details, but there was something going on with the visas and stuff. So, and for touring for the new album, for Impermanent Resonance, I read actually an interview yesterday with Matt and James, and I know also we discussed it, and with the new Dream Theater album coming out now I think it's, is this month, August, I think, or September?
It comes out September.
September, yeah. So, and they're going to start touring in January. So, and if I understand James correct, he wants to bring this album on tour. He wants to tour with it, but it won't happen. Most likely it won't happen until after the Dream Theater tours are over. And they normally tour for a year and a half, So I would say we're looking at something like maybe a tour in from now in 2 years or something, most likely.
But that's cool. I mean, most people might think that's prime because the record will be 2 years old, but hopefully this is a timeless enough record. I mean, this kind of music isn't, this sound was cool 2 years ago. It'll be cool 2 years from now.
Exactly. And since we haven't toured with this lineup, and we haven't toured since Static Impulse, there will be people still, liking those albums, and maybe they, forget about the albums, but once they see that the band is on tour, they're going to go like, wow, yeah. I love that album, and I'm going to see the band when they come through. Yeah. So I think it's not like we really, it's not like a pop phenomena that when you have a hit single, you have to tour right now because it's now, and then everything is forgotten, and nobody will remember your name. But I don't think that's the point with this band. So most likely it'll take like a couple of years, but that tour, if I understand James right and what he's been telling us, the tour is going to happen, though.
Well, and that would be cool. And that was going to be my next question, because I remember with the Static Impulse sessions, there was because what happened. It was right on the horizon was the new Dream Theater album, just like we have now, and I don't think he could reschedule it, and whatever fell by the wayside. And I was actually going to inquire about that. It's like, well, this always happens right before Dream Theater is about to come out with the record. Yeah, like, is there enough time to really nurture this project? But I really hope you guys hit the road in a couple years. I would love to see you and check you guys out. God, I'd probably have to go to Chicago for it, but I love Chicago, and that's okay. We're Midwest.
That would be cool.
Gosh, man, I'm looking forward to it, and I appreciate you talking with us, man. I really do.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. No. Yeah, thanks, guys. Really, thanks a lot.